change the algorithms of social media, first of all. That's the most important point in polarization. That at the moment we have algorithms that select for anger and division. And we now have a whole kind of media complex that selects for those things as well. I think as the result of social media. So, social media don't have to be the way they are now. It's those algorithms give it a particular character. It's like find the nastiest things, find the most volatile things, find the things that people get most angry about. So we could have an algorithm based on empathy, based on love, based on admiration, based on celebration. Instead, we have algorithms based on anger, on division, on stupid cultural warfare, where people get very, very excited about a subject that they had never thought about until 20 minutes before. Sorry, you don't have to use this, but I just want to tell you. For years and years, I've known trans people, and I've known people who knew trans people, and there was no conversation about it, really. Even their parents and so on, it was just fine, it went on. And then suddenly that became an issue that could divide people. Now, politicians nowadays want more than anything issues that will divide people, because you can run a campaign on anger and resentment. You can only do that if nobody knows what anybody else is thinking, if the division has already happened. So really the reform has to be in those kinds of mechanisms.
Well, that's a tough question. I think that historically, the way that societies overcome polarization is through finding some kind of unifying or rallying cause. And I think during the COVID-19 pandemic in Europe, we actually did have that to some extent. There was actually obviously a crisis, but also some degree of cross-party consensus about the importance of containing the pandemic and even supporting the vaccine rollout, with opposition really just from the extremes of the political spectrum, but most parties and certainly most citizens basically being aligned on that. And I think as well, obviously we're beyond the pandemic now, but to some extent I think that's also true, for example, in Europeans' reaction to the war in Ukraine. I think that's also been, for example, a unifying factor and something that has brought politicians together, surprisingly, from even some parts of the far right to some parts of the left, and even Green parties, for example, around a common position, a common European position on Ukraine. And so, like I say, those external challenges, those are the factors that will bring people together.
We do live in an increasingly polarized world, and I think one way of tackling that problem is to learn to better listen to each other. I think this is a skill that's underrated, and we are trained to express ourselves a lot. We're not so much trained to listen to each other and to listen to understand. So I think this is one crucial aspect that we need to work on.
I think it's going to take time, but I think people need, several things. First of all, people need models. And by that I mean those who have ideas, who have the wish to do something, have to do something. We need models. Every generation needs to see the models that, I wouldn't say heroes, but the people who actually inspire us, because we all need inspiration. If we have those models, and if at the same time we have more and more political leaders who are very conscious about the huge responsibility that they have, because political action is a huge job in itself. You are carrying the weight of generations and generations of people before you, and also the weight of the upcoming generations. That's what politics is all about. And so if we have more responsibility, more models, role models, people who understand what's at stake, but also if we have a willingness for all of us to listen to the other one, even if they have different ideas, to ask questions, to be like, why do you think that? Why do you not think that? Why is this so important for you? I think it will help us collectively understand the others instead of shutting the door, not talking to each other anymore. So I would say these are a few steps to get the ball rolling again, but it will take much more than this, that's for sure.
I think we are living in a time where speaking and having opinions and there's so much noise all the time that actually we are lacking to train our ability to actually do deep listening and being quiet and listening to each other. I think for me it's one of the most important skills or values or muscles or competences that we should be able to improve in our everyday life.